College chapter is still going strong. And now I'm pleased to continue the honored tradition that Benedict College plays in its educational and leadership roles in our community. We awarded Dr. Bethune an honorary degree in 1950. We were here when her portrait was unveiled in 1976, and we presented a plate in her honor. And we were at the unveiling of her statue at Bethune-Cookman. And here we are today, proud participants again in the unveiling of the license plate. We have witnessed the great progress that has occurred from the time that young girl, the daughter of slaves, was undeterred by her surroundings and circumstances. And in the spirit of this month, when she could not see her way, she had to make a way. She was so successful that in time, her portrait, as you referred to already, was unveiled in the state of her growth, and a license plate was created to recognize her achievements at home and abroad. The continuing line of history draws us ever closer to realizing the reality of the final legacy that Dr. Bethune left for us in South Carolina and around the world. As colleagues, we share the educational mission that she envisioned at Benedict College in the 143rd year of its stellar history. Except with pride and gratitude her lasting guidance, I leave you finally a responsibility to our young people. May the spirit of the legacy of Dr. McLeod Bethune continue to make South Carolina and the world a better place in which to live. And I know it's hard for a president to stay within 2 minutes. I hope I came pretty close to that. But I also would like to acknowledge that our soloist is a Benedict College professor.
Thank you, Dr. Swinton. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of Voorhees College, Dr. Cleveland Sellers. Everybody say good morning, Dr. Sellers.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I bring to you this morning greetings from the entire Voorhees College family. I will try to make my presentation within the 2-minute limit. And we are certainly excited to be involved in this Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune license plate unveiling ceremony. Dr. Bethune, like her sister, Elizabeth Evelyn Wright, founder of Voorhees College, was a pioneer in black education, secondary and higher education. Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, nearing the close of her life, wrote her last will and testament. And what I would like to do this morning is quote a little bit from that so we can actually get the flavor of her character and her philosophy and her legacy. Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune said that I leave you love. Love builds. I leave you hope. I leave you the challenge of developing confidence in one another. I leave you a thirst for education. Knowledge is a prime need. I leave you faith. Faith is the first factor in a life devoted to service. Without faith, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. Faith in God is the greatest power, but great too is the faith in oneself. Dr. Bethune goes on and says, faith, courage, brotherhood, dignity, ambition, responsibility. These are needed today more than ever before. We must cultivate them and use them as tools for our task of completing the establishment of equality for the Negro. We must sharpen these tools in the struggle that faces us and find new ways of using them. The freedom gates are half a job. We must pry them fully open. And so she challenged us to continue to pursue those things that are important in our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sellers. And now representing Claflin University. Now, all of these universities have great choirs, but let me tell you, Claflin University's choir is par excellence. I had the pleasure of being a part of a convention for Medal of Honor recipients in Charleston. That choir came out for an evening performance and for the dinner, and I was moved to tears. So thank you, Claflin University, and thank you, Benedict and Voorhees. Representing Claflin University, President Dr. Henry Tisdale. Dr. Tisdale, say hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, President.
I bring you greetings from Claflin University, the oldest historically black college or university in the state of South Carolina, the first institution of higher education to give access to African Americans. I want to acknowledge our dignitaries today, our elected officials, members of the clergy, my fellow presidents, community leaders, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed honored to have this opportunity to give a few remarks and to witness the celebration of this very historic event. I do want to acknowledge the Twin City Outreach for sponsoring the license plate, for all of the outstanding work you do, for all of those who are involved, and I especially want to acknowledge two Claflin alumni, the late Reverend Willis Goodwin and also Ed Miller. It is indeed a very special time for us, a time in which we can be proud, a time in which we are making a great statement about the state of South Carolina. And I'd like to quote John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who said, "A nation reveals itself not only by the men or women it produces, but also by the men or women it honors and the men and women it remembers." Today we are remembering, we are honoring a great South Carolinian. And I would add that it is indeed a proud feeling for all of us in South Carolina. All of us who have taken or have been given the mantle of leadership can take a page from the life of Mary McLeod Bethune. There she was, born here in South Carolina in a home where parents and two of her older siblings were born into slavery. She was born 12 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. But she showed us what can be accomplished regardless of one's circumstances. She taught us there is no substitute for having a vision and a conviction of one's dream. She also showed us that education is the great equalizer, and it's also the first step to freedom and justice. I've had the great privilege of visiting on many occasions Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. I've been there as a member of the United Negro College Fund and also representing the United Methodist Church, because both Claflin University and Bethune-Cookman University are affiliated with the United Methodist Church, and I treasured every visit just walking those hallowed grounds. Mrs. Bethune, Dr. Bethune, was indeed a visionary, and she had an uncommon intellectual swagger, if you will, and she was indeed extraordinarily confident in her abilities and what she could do. Today, let us remember her And today we can say unequivocally that Mary McLeod Bethune transcended the evils of discrimination, bigotry, intolerance, prejudice, and racial injustice, and emerged an American icon that we can only hope to emulate. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Tisdale. And now representing the University of South Carolina, the Vice Provost and Dean, and we do have a Ford in our future, Dr. Lacey K. Ford, Jr.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It is a great privilege for me to be here to represent, along with my colleague, Professor Val Littlefield, who you'll meet in a minute, the University of South Carolina, as we honor and recognize Mary McLeod Bethune, a great American that we are proud to call a native South Carolinian. We all but know by now that born into humble circumstances in Sumter County, Mary McLeod Bethune rose to become a prominent national educator, an organizer of major women's groups, a civil rights leader, and a political advisor to the likes of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. But the foundation of her success, I would insist, lay in her commitment to education. First, to her own education, whether through self-teaching or attending, when possible, one of the few local schools established to help educate young African Americans after emancipation. And then her commitment to educate her fellow citizens, and especially other African Americans who, like herself, found educational opportunities limited by segregation, by poverty, by discrimination, and a variety of other policies and attitudes. In her efforts, she took help where she could, from Presbyterian and Methodist churches, from Northern philanthropists and tourists, and she created schools for African Americans where few, if any, existed. You know the rest of the story. The school she started at Daytona Beach eventually became Bethune-Cookman College, over which she presided as president, and she is now remembered as one of the nation's foremost educators. I would suggest this morning that we need, in more modest ways, probably according to at least my talents, follow her example. Through what the hymn called the weary years, Mary McLeod Bethune and other dedicated leaders like her brought the nation a long way. Formal segregation ended, doors were pushed open, great disparities in educational opportunity were lessened to a degree. And education and educational opportunities have improved and expanded. For that progress, we all owe Mary McLeod Bethune and others like her a debt of gratitude. But we can still look around us this morning and know that we've not reached the end of that journey. And we're not moving as fast along the road as we need to. By any standard, there's much left to do. Important work could be done in chambers not far from where we stand this morning. I still pray that that work will be done. But I also know that we can't wait on others to do the work for us. So in the spirit of Mary McLeod Bethune, we need to go out and further the work ourselves in our local public schools, in the colleges and universities like the one in which I work, in our communities, in our homes, and in our homes of others in our family. We must work to give our children and fellow citizens a better chance for the one thing that has always been the chief source of self-improvement, opportunity, and upward mobility for all Americans, a better education. Not just a fairly adequate education, but an excellent education. The journey ahead of us is long, so we need to set our feet to the path and get moving. In the spirit of inspiration that the example of Mary McLeod Bethune provides, I want to close by telling you that beginning in the fall of 2013, the University of South Carolina will begin a year-long commemoration of the second desegregation of the university that began some 50 years ago in 1963. That commemoration will be a time of deserved celebration, but also a thoughtful reflection and honest reckoning, and ultimately, we hope, a time for renewed commitment and new beginnings. Today, along with Val Littlefield, I invite and welcome you in joining us in those activities once they get underway in a few months. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. And now we welcome Associate Professor